Hello everybody, what's going on my lovely friends? Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. I can't believe we're halfway through another week already. Actually, I also can't believe that we're like in September already. When did that happen? Where has this year gone? Anyway, we have another amazing guest joining us today. I'm really super excited that Stephanie Hoffman is going to be joining us. She is otherwise known as Underground Metalworks, and she is a welder and fabricator and promoter of trades, careers, and just an all-around awesome woman. And so we are going to about now. I've not actually met Stephanie in person, so I'm really excited to get to know her a little bit and hear her story and introduce her to all of you guys. Hi, lovely.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
It's getting dark out too early these days here.
Oh my God. Where are you?
New Jersey. The Jersey Shore.
I didn't know that are you a Jersey girl?
Yeah, born and raised.
I was born in Jersey.
Yeah, what part?
Montclair, North Jersey.
Oh, that's a little north of me. Yeah, that's like 45 minutes. I'm in Ocean County, like Seaside Heights.
Oh my God.
Island. Yeah.
Jersey girls. Awesome. That's fantastic. Very cool. Well, thank you for agreeing to join me. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Absolutely. So let's tell everybody who's watching a little bit about you and me. I don't know, like what's your backstory? How did you get into doing what you do?
Okay. Oh, wow. Well, I started probably 20 years ago now. It's been a while.
You were like 10 years old?
Yeah. So, yeah, I wish. Thank you. So, yeah, I started about 20 years ago. My dad was running a paving company, and he wasn't a welder at all. He ran, like, heavy equipment and all that stuff. But going to the shop, he was always enamored over the welders in the shop and was always really, like, proud of what they were doing. And being a daddy's girl and kind of a tomboy, I saw that and thought, oh, well, he likes that. Maybe I can impress him by wanting to go and, be a welder. So
Nice.
Next thing you know, I was trying it out and took my first welding class my freshman year in high school.
Nice.
And then I was one of the first females to ever be accepted into the vocational welding program my junior and senior years. And my mom had to actually fight for me to get into that program because they actually told me no, that they didn't have bathroom accommodations for me. So it was like the lamest excuse ever. My mom's like, I'm gonna call back again, and I hope you have a very different answer for me.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I've totally heard that excuse before for things too, and it's crazy. I'm like, really? Yeah, come on.
My mom, thank God for my mother, because if it wasn't for her, I probably would have just thrown a towel. I'm like, all right, I'll go be a hairdresser or something.
Right. Yay for parents supporting their kids.
Yeah. So she was a big advocate for me, and she stood her ground and made sure I got in that program, and I excelled. I don't know if you're familiar with certifications, AWS certifications, but I got my first 6G pipe certification when I was, I think, the end of my junior year in high school.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was a pretty big accomplishment. I actually got my aluminum 6G pipe cert before my welding instructor got his. He failed his a couple of times, and I got mine first try.
So he was better at teaching?
One of my proudest accomplishments, yeah. But,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then I got into the pipe industry while I was in high school. I started working. Actually, my first job in high school was working at a shipyard, and that was I don't know how people do it. I was working in Point Pleasant Beach at a shipyard doing like clam dredge repair. And me and this kid, we got hired at the same time. And all I cared about was not quitting before he quit. So I knew he was going to quit. It was just a waiting game until he quit first, because I was not going to quit first. So he quit. I quit the next day. I hated it so much. I never went back for my last paycheck. They still owe me money. But
oh my God.
But it was bad. It was horrible. And then from there, I went into the pipe industry and kind of loved it.
That's awesome.
And funny enough, I thought I would only be a stick welder, and ended up loving TIG welding, and that was kind of my niche, doing anodized aluminum pipe on yachts and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Towers and sky bridges, bow rails, ladders.
Interesting. So you've done a lot of like really industrial, like hardcore stuff.
I guess, I mean, the anodized work that I did was super, I don't know what the word would be, but very clean, I guess. Like there was no tolerance for any like like scratch marks, cut marks, anything like that on the pipe. I mean, you could have like a pencil point mark on it and they're like, cut it off, do it again. So it was a lot of pressure there. And yeah, so the rest was kind of history. I went and just kept welding, went in the Army for a little while. I wanted to be a welder, but they wouldn't let me. They were like, you scored too high on your ASVAB, so they made me be an Intel analyst. And
oh, wow.
That was all right. It wasn't for me. So
interesting.
I went right back into welding as soon as I got
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then fell into teaching welding because I had my daughter and stuff, and the life of a welder was a little difficult being a single mom. So I got my degree in education while working as a welder, and thought I would just be a regular teacher and just get out of welding altogether. And then the job opened up, and my former welding instructor, who I'd worked with as a teacher's aide doing like TIG instruction, he was like, hey, you gotta apply at this school down in South Jersey. It's like down by the Delaware Memorial Bridge in Salem County. Okay. And I was like, that is super rural down there. They're not going to hire a chick to run that program. No way. So I applied, just threw my name in the hat. I actually bailed on the first interview. It was like, no, it's too far. It's not for me. And ended up going back, fell in love with the school, got hired like the next day basically, and fell in love with teaching and kind of encouraging kids, and worked there for 4 years just about. And then the AWS picked me up to tour the country with their Careers in Welding trailer and help with the grant programs and stuff, and kind of I guess broadening the image a little bit of the AWS and who are members of the AWS.
Yeah.
And all that.
For anybody who's watching who doesn't know what or who AWS is, tell us a little bit about that and what, because you're doing you're promoting careers in the trades. I can't speak English today, apparently. So tell a little bit more about that program and how that works.
Yeah, so the American Welding Society, we're the largest welding organization pretty much in the world. We are made up of tons of industry partners. We have all types of folks on our executive boards from all different, companies, things that, Miller and Lincoln and just all those types of industry folks are all part of what we do. And not just, partners and trying to get all that stuff squared away in that department, but we also do, codes and standards. So anybody who's taking welding certifications and stuff like that are generally taking them to some type of AWS certification standards. So we write all that good stuff. We have webinars and seminars and tons of great content. And then we have grants and scholarship programs. I mean, a ton of money. Last year we gave out, I think it was like $1.4 million in scholarships and grants to students in schools.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
so a lot
so
of people
needed.
don't know that. And we have scholarships for all different people in all different brackets of the industry, from engineers. We have engineering specific scholarships. We have entry-level vocational programs scholarships. So we have the welder training one that's $1,000 for anybody. There's no age requirements, none of that stuff. It's for any type of welding program that you can think about, like a basic level vocational school or a trade school, your local program. So anywhere in the country that would work for. On the trailer that I tour the country with, so I tour the country 18 weeks a year with the Careers in Welding trailer that's sponsored by Lincoln Electric. So that's been a blast. So I spent 18 weeks of my life last year getting to know students from all across the country and instructors and going to visiting schools. And on the trailer, every day that the trailer was out at an event, I gave out $1,000 scholarship to somebody doing career in welding. So,
awesome.
I gave out scholarships to people because the scholarship they had, what are we doing, 4 years to redeem it, I believe it was, so that even a freshman in high school could win it and then save it, and when they graduate, use it. But we had, 14, 15-year-old students winning it, all the way up to, folks in their late 50s and stuff winning it because they wanted to, learn a new trade, pick up a side job, or just get out of the career that they were in. So it was really cool meeting all those people.
That's amazing. What an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Before you move on from that too much, do you have any amazing stories from that? Touching personal stories?
Yeah.
Tell.
So there was a young lady who came on the trailer. I think we were at, what school was it? It might have been Chattanooga. Okay. Somewhere in Tennessee, somewhere in Chattanooga, I believe it was. I think. I don't know.
Somewhere.
It was a lot of places. But she was adorable. She actually was, a newer mom, and she was going back to college. Her husband was a welder, and she wasn't happy with her job and stuff like that. So she got inspired by him to go and become, I think she was in the welding engineer program.
Okay.
Or something like that. And she worked on a family farm, pretty rural background that she came from, not a lot of money. And a lot of the kids come on and they win the scholarships just because they're kind of competing sometimes with their other classmates and everything. And when she won it, she was crying because it turns out her farm that she was helping her grandparents try and keep up with and stuff, they just had to file bankruptcy and they were getting rid of the farm. She didn't know how she was going to be able to pay for next semester. So like getting this money and being able to kind of like take a little bit of pressure off of her meant the world to her. And it was just awesome. And she's just a really, really inspiring story. And stories like that is what makes, what I do on the trailer so important. Sorry, my dog Baloney is barking. That's all right.
That's all right. Does he want to join?
Old and senile.
Oh, does he want to join the live? Say hello.
No, I put him in the back of my office back there, thinking he would be all right. But
somebody asked a question I don't want to miss. How often do you have to get recertified? They wanted to know.
So certifications can often depend on the place that you're working.
Okay.
So if you're working at a place and they want that job site specifically wants you to requalify every 6 months, well, you're qualifying every 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can get like generic AWS certifications too. So if they won't be stamped by your actual employer though. So
awesome. Very cool. What a cool experience doing that tour bus. That is amazing to do. What is it about? Like, I think you and I are on the same page about this, but I asked the question just to hear your thoughts on it. Like, why help promote careers in the trades? Like, why are you passionate about that?
Man, I guess because one, from being an instructor and kind of falling into it, being a teacher and seeing what I can give back to a small town community, especially like where I worked in Salem County. And having parents reach out and say, thank you so much for, encouraging my kid to give this a try and do it. And he loves it. And he finally feels like he's part of a community and a group. Like that always resonated so much with me that these kids aren't just getting, career skills out of it. They feel like they belong to something, and then you have platforms like, Instagram and Facebook and you have all these communities of people where you can reach out and ask questions. And I think a lot of kids need that. They need to feel like they're a part of something, bigger, I think sometimes. And that's always been a pretty big driving factor, watching these kids succeed. It's always kind of really proud when you see your student struggle with something and then all of a sudden it just clicks and they get it.
It's the best moment, isn't it?
Yeah. And now I get to do it with my daughter, which has been real fun.
Yes, that's been so much fun. For anybody who doesn't follow Stephanie, you need to. It's Underground Metalworks. Check her out. You're on YouTube under the same name as well, or?
No. So all my videos, they're under the American Welding Society's.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can find them all there.
Awesome. So American Welding Society, and then on Instagram as Underground Metalworks. Mm-hmm. She's been doing a bunch of videos with her daughter, which is so cool. How old is your daughter now?
She's 11.
Okay. So question, because I get asked this a lot, how old was she when you started teaching her welding? Because people ask, when is it too young to start teaching a kid?
So this is my approach on it. A lot of parents just want their kid to love it and they want them to like it and they want them not to be afraid of, flames and sparks and everything. We tell them, no, don't touch that, so don't go by the candle, don't go by the stove. So it's really hard to suddenly drag your kid out of the shop and go, oh, no, it's okay here. And this thing is
play with fire
at 3,500, RPM on a grinder. And like, no, it's fine. They're like, no, it's fine. Just don't. Okay.
It's totally fine.
So what I did was I just introduced her slowly. I want to say she was probably she knew what I would do out in the shop, but she would kind of stay away. She's probably 5, 6 years old. And I introduced her to just tools that weren't going to produce too much action. So sanding. So I showed her a little orbital sander. It has a little bit of motion in her hand. There's some type of feeling there. There's sounds that are a little louder than she's used to. So we started off with just sanding, and then she could see the welding, grinding, and stuff, everything else that's going on. And just getting her a little bit comfortable with some of the equipment that she has to put on, safety glasses and, a face shield if she's, using a grinder or around any of that stuff. So that's like a soft introduction that I think is really important for the smaller kids, especially if you're talking like below 8 years old, where it's just a lot. It's sensory overload for them, basically. And totally. I think a lot of parents forget about that. They think, you know, their kid's just being a wimp or a baby, but it's a lot for them, especially when the gloves are 8 sizes too big and the jacket's gigantic.
Right.
You know? So one thing, once I started to introduce her, then the next step after like getting her used to like what a sander is and just the sights and sounds of the shop was I had her use the oxy-fuel torch and the plasma cutter were the next step that we kind of migrated to. And I want to say she was probably 8 or 9 by the time we kind of started getting into that type of stuff. And she loved it. She did okay with that. My biggest thing is waiting till about that 8 or 9 grouping to really start introducing stuff where they're going to have to wear a lot of the heavier jackets, because biggest thing I tell people when they ask me, what do I put my daughter in? It's find the smallest size women's PPE that you can find. Men's small is still gigantic.
Oh, totally.
You know, it's too big. But there's companies out there that do have women's line, you know.
Thankfully, finally.
Not trying to plug anybody here, but Lincoln Electric's line, Jessica Holmes' Lincoln Electric line is fantastic, and they do make an extra small. So the extra small is a home run for the kids, and they come extra small gloves too. They might not fit perfectly, but it's the closer you're gonna get, you know. And it's lighter weight.
Yeah, it's so cool to see so many more like companies actually validating women in welding by having stuff for us, because it's hard. When I started 20 years ago, the way I got my gloves to fit was just hopefully they got hot enough and they started to kind of melt down to my fingers. You know, absolutely. They self-formed, basically, you know, so that was kind of right.
How I had to do it, you know? And just like rifling through to find whatever jacket was the smallest in the mound of men's giant jackets.
Oh yeah, it was the same on the mechanical side, right? Like they didn't make women's work pants that the uniform companies had. Like that just wasn't even an option. So it was like wearing all like the man's clothing, like
work boots was even hard back then when I first started.
I used to buy
the worst.
The only thing that I could find that was like reasonable as a work boot when I first started out in high school was I would buy the largest size of little boys' Timberlands.
Same. I had to do the same. It was always little boys' shoes.
It was the only thing.
Yep, that was pretty much the same with me. It was rough, and they were so awkward looking and terrible.
So awkward.
Yeah, that was always fun. I got smarter though. Now my daughter, she wears the Doc Martens, so they make nice Doc Martens in kids sizes. I mean, they're not obviously not finding steel-toed children-sized boots, but
right.
You're probably not doing too much extreme stuff with your child in the shop.
Right. Well, you never know.
I know. Some parents, right?
I mean, some people would consider what you're doing pretty extreme. You guys are doing some pretty like intense projects with her.
Yeah, I mean, she's getting there. She's to the point where she's completely comfortable setting up, like she can set up the MIG welder fine, run the plasma cutter just fine. Started introducing her a little bit to some aluminum TIG welding.
Nice.
She liked that the best because obviously there's no real sparks there, but it's just a lot for her to do still. She's getting there. She understands the overall idea behind it.
Girl, it's a lot for me to do still. I'm still learning TIG, so like she's doing.
I know, everybody keeps telling me, she's like, she's ahead of the game. I don't know why you keep telling me, like, she's not there yet.
Totally. I'm sure she's a better welder than I am already.
She's doing pretty good. It's awesome to see how proud she gets. Today, she's like, Mom, I was thinking of making something in the shop this week. I was like, well, I'm a little busy. I got this big sculpture stuff in my room right now. And she's like, well, I was just thinking we could make like, over at her dad's house, she's got a little quad. And she said, I was just thinking I could make like a wagon for my quad. Like,
I love it.
We're not doing that right now. Sorry. It's very good.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, so she's always got these ideas. And yeah, when she first started really getting good with the plasma cutter, it was like everybody had to get like a nameplate or something.
Yes.
Cut out. Everybody got a piece of metal.
Yes. I love it. That's awesome. And she's getting more comfortable in front of the camera. She's starting to, her little personality's starting to come out. And
she's funny. Those videos were, so when we started them, we did them for April for National Welding Month. And AWS was like, listen, it would be great. All these kids are home from school due to COVID stuff. Let's get these kids, out and working in the shop. They're home with their parents. I was like, all right, awesome. We can do that. So I did one each week. I had no idea how to do a DIY video. I had thank God my daughter is 11 and is savvy to like YouTube and watching DIY videos on how to like make slime and everything else. So thank God for that, because she was like the mini director. She's like, no, Mom, that's not how you do it. You need to set it up like that. So like,
Nice.
I'm like, okay. So she got me squared away pretty fast. So she wasn't gonna let it be a total train wreck. So they've been getting better over every time.
No, they're great. I love watching them. I think they're fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, she's a character though. I love it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm very thankful. So I mean, I guess that's the good thing about not being on the road this year, is I've had lots of time to get out there with her and try some new stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. So what's this big sculpture you're working on?
The sculpture. So a big initiative for the AWS. I don't know, a lot of people, if you've been following the AWS social medias and stuff like that, we've been really trying to push to become more relevant to the everyday welder, sculptors, metal artists, fabricators. So it's not, we don't, we want to encompass all of the community, not just, the codes and standards and engineering side. So a really cool idea that we thought would be really fun was pairing up with some really cool sculptors and metal artists. So Barbie the welder agreed to go ham with me on a sculpture, and
nice.
So we've been working. I guess I've been working about 2.5 weeks now, probably. Okay. So we're making a giant Statue of Liberty who's donned like a welder. So she'll have a welding helmet on. She'll be draped with the American flag.
Nice.
We're going to be doing the American flag part together. So she's going to be coming on down to New Jersey, and we're going to work on that here. And then she's going to be holding the AWS code book. So originally I was going to go with the structural steel code, and then all of my pieces are completely out of aluminum. And so we're going to go with the aluminum code book, so the D1.2. So
nice.
So that's awesome. A little change. And then at the bottom of the base, it's a 4-sided base, and I put copper, and I do a lot of different engravings and stuff. So I'm actually going to do different industry scenes around the base that kind of represent the welding community. So there'll be like a skyline, a refinery for the pipe fitters out there, a bridge scene with some transportation, and then I think on the back we're going to do like an automotive robotic type scene. I think I'm going to go for like manufacturing and automotive industry. Yeah, so I got a lot of work. My hands are going to hurt.
I was going to say, that sounds intense. Yeah. That is such
My ears are already ringing from the sound of the Dremel.
So are you a talented artist too, like drawing and?
I mean, I've been told maybe so. If I wasn't a welder, I'd honestly have been a tattooer. But thankfully, my skill set has been able to aid in the wants and needs of a lot of my tattooer friends. So hence my body being ankles to fingers due to bartering.
Gotta love bartering.
Yeah, so it actually, I got one leg for, I did a roll cage and a Suzuki Samurai and floor pans and a new roof and wheel wells and front and rear bumpers for one leg. I did a dining room banquet table for the other leg.
That's amazing.
Like stuff across my stomach was for the entryway to a tattoo parlor. So a lot of tattoo shops across the East Coast have some of my work in it. So.
That's awesome.
Or in their house.
I love being able to even like have a skill that's barterable, right? Like that's just such a cool thing to have. I was always so grateful for that being.
Yeah, my husband gets mad. He doesn't have any barterable skills, so.
Aw.
He's getting his back tattooed due to my bartering skills. So.
Nice.
I ran out of room, so now he's reaping the rewards. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest challenges facing our industry right now, as far as the welding side of things?
Oh gosh, the biggest challenging parts I think are sometimes I think it's students and kids being afraid to kind of venture out from their comfort of their nest of what's in their community. Teaching at a very rural school, I saw that a lot because they thought that if it wasn't within Salem County, there was nothing else out there and they weren't going to drive for it. And I said, you want to make all this big, pipe fitter money, but you don't want to go after it, So sometimes it's just, not being so, I don't know, sometimes, kids sometimes can be a little baby today. So maybe just leaving the nest every once in a while. So that's been one thing that I've noticed that I think is a big problem, is that kids are afraid to really kind of go out on their own and take the leap for themselves. And they're afraid of failing for some reason. I don't know why that's such a scary thing for them. I mean, I know it was scary for me, but I mean, I failed plenty of times, and there's plenty of times where I've been like, I'm done with this job. I'm out of here.
Totally. Do you find that it's, in your experience, that it's the fear of going out on their own, or is it the fear of exploring like the trades at all?
You know, that I don't know. I feel like the kids, they always just want, it's like they need it handed to them. Like I try and do my best with, if any student in my program wanted a job, I don't care how many places I had to call asking and begging kids, you know, for them to, you know, take a look at my students, see what we got to offer, or this and that. And most of my students would if they wanted a welding job, we'd figure it out, you know, we'd get them somewhere. And I think it's just having, you know, a mentor in their corner. Sometimes some of these old timers can be very intimidating. When I got into the industry, it was really intimidating, and most people didn't welcome me or accept me or want me there, or thought I was just, you know, an EO hire, and that was, you know, all I was good for, just to be a pretty face on the job site, and, you know, that was it. And it took years to really kind of prove myself. But I think nowadays kids just want it to come easy, and then that little bit of intimidation factor, they get scared off. So, you know, we just got to toughen them up a little bit. I've met a lot of good instructors that are doing a pretty darn good job. So hopefully they continue.
It's interesting though, because I hear people say that they feel like kids just aren't interested in doing the trades. They're not interested in working with their hands. They're not like, they don't want to do these jobs. And I feel like my experience at least has been, it's not, the problem isn't getting kids interested. It's getting the parents to be okay with their kid pursuing that kind of career.
The idea of college doesn't have to be, you know, the key to your child's success.
Right.
I think it's a hard
other
thing.
ways.
Yeah. I mean, I've had that conversation at like back to school night and stuff with my senior students' parents, being like, well, you know, I really thought he was going to go to college and he was going to go for this, you know, this nuclear engineering program that they have there, because my kid's going to be a nuclear scientist. And
right.
You know, little Zach doesn't want to be a nuclear scientist. He
right. What if your kid doesn't want to do that? Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. And she's like, you know, he's got a baseball scholarship and this and that. I'm like, you know, it's a really hard thing. And then trying to sit down and tell them, like, listen, he can make this much money if he, you know, without any college debt, or, you know, all he has to do is focus and get these certifications. And this place is willing to hire students as an apprentice and, you know, put them through and pay for their training and pay for their certifications, you know. And then once you kind of start telling them like that, I think sometimes students, maybe they go home and tell their parents about all this money they think they're going to make, and they just think that the kids are just blowing smoke, you know, like, nah,
right.
You know, it really can't, like, but they also forget your kid has to be a go-getter too. Like, it's
totally right.
You know?
It's not just handed to you.
Yeah. So,
but there is so much opportunity. Like, I feel like parents don't know, people don't know, like, God, there's so many positions open, and I just people just don't know. I want to shout it off the rooftops, right? Yeah. Like, there's so much opportunity for scholarships and great paying jobs and you know, upward mobility. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the industry is what you make it, you know. If the only place that you're looking is this pigeon-holed, you know, whatever view of what the industry is in your town, well, you're cutting yourself out the knees by doing that. You know, if you look outside the box, you know, hey, if you really if you want this, you might have to make some, you know, other changes throughout your life. So, I mean, I get bummed out when I hear people like talk about how there's no money in welding or this or that. Okay, well, there might not be any money in your, you know, 400 person town, but maybe in the next city down, there's a ton of money to be made there.
Absolutely.
But, you know, I mean, that's a lot easier said than done though, too. Packing up your family, having to move, or a long commute. I mean, when I was teaching, I took a less paying job. I cried my first paycheck that I got as a welding instructor, bawled my eyes out, called my mom. I don't know how I'm going to do this. What did I just do? I'm a single mom. What am I doing? And, you know, I was commuting an hour and 50 minutes each way to go and teach those kids down there in Salem County.
That's commitment.
And sometimes, you know, the juice is worth the squeeze when it's something that you love and you want to, you know, you every day you just have a blast when you go to work, you know, and, you know, that's what welding is for me. So, you know.
That's awesome.
But here I am now.
Here you are now, rocking it. Like, Kick a butt and take a name, seriously. And I feel you, like I came up the same era as you did probably in the industry, and kind of the experiences of not being so welcome. And I feel like it's changed a little bit for ladies in automotive and welding. I think it's starting to improve. What are your words of advice from all your hard-learned lessons of kind of putting up with that in your starting out phases?
Practice. Just practice your craft. I mean, everybody has bad days. Nobody's perfect. I mean, everybody looks up, you got these awesome welders out there that you see plastered all over social media. The reality is they're posting their best work all the time, and they have bad days too. They dip their tungsten, they stick their rods, they blow a root. It happens to all of us. And I would tell my students that all the time. Just practice. Practice doesn't make perfect, but practice will make you pretty damn close. So that's a lot of kids, they just don't want to put the time in. They want to be good instantly because that's what they see on social media. So
totally. Yeah. There's so many blessings to social media in the sense of like how we know about each other, and we're not, alone, and we can see other people like us, and we can form communities, and all of that is fantastic. But on the flip side, yeah, like nobody's taking pictures of their mess ups.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it leads not just for the kids. I think for so many of us, we're constantly, looking at everybody else's perfection and wondering why we're not that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's
and it doesn't come. It didn't come easy for any of those people that all these kids are looking up to, no matter what industry. It didn't come easy to them. They put the practice in. That's the difference. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I hear that a lot, and it's an interesting kind of phenomena that I think has happened now. Like there's definitely a lot of sexism in the industry, obviously but it still exists, right? It's improved a lot, but it still exists. But I will often hear, especially younger women, say like, oh, they're not letting me do X, Y, and Z because I'm a girl. And I'm like, no, they're not letting you do X, Y, and Z because this is your first 6 months in the industry.
Yeah.
Like you're new. Like, you gotta pay your dues, and you gotta you learn and you practice and you keep going, and eventually you earn the right. And it's, yes, there's sexism, but not everything that happens is sexism. Some of it's just you being new.
Yeah. And some of it's just people are assholes. So.
And there's that. You can totally say that because it's totally true. Some people are. Yeah. Unfortunately.
I hope nobody from work is watching this. Oh man. I didn't even say that.
No, you're fine. Like, when I had Barbie on, please. It was like more cursing per minute than even I normally do. I try to behave when I'm on live. I do have a potty mouth in real life though.
Yeah, I know.
It's all good, all good. So what have you been keeping yourself busy with during COVID times? With you're not doing the tour, you're doing videos, you're doing sculpture. What is the daily life of Stephanie Hoffman look like?
Oh, mom things. Mom's keeping an 11-year-old busy, getting ready for virtual school. We're not going back to school here just yet in New Jersey. Yeah. Some of the districts are, not us, so we're preparing for that. But yeah, just a lot of work. So just really been focusing on, now that I have some time to kind of do things within my industry that I never had time to do because I always had, some guy telling me, I gotta get this done, I gotta get these parts out, I gotta get this built, I gotta get that, I gotta get this lesson done to these students, and this prepared. So it's been nice to be able to, one, make the videos, but then two, make other stuff that's just for me, stuff that I just want to make and haven't been able to. I mean, I have like 3 things that I'm making all at once that I have yet to finish, but
I know that feeling.
So, my next big thing is gonna be, this is up your alley. I want to get myself a right-hand drive Mini Cooper one of these days, and do a little build on that. Problem is, I don't know anything about mechanics.
That's okay. When I did the Chevy Montage build, I knew nothing about metal.
Yeah.
Or bodywork. Or paint.
Yeah, I mean, I guess YouTube is a great thing, right?
Yeah, it is, and I think one of the coolest things about the network of women in the trades that's been starting to really develop is the willingness to share the knowledge and share the love. And I didn't know anything about restoring vehicles.
Yeah.
I know a ton now, but my cat is trying to join in on the conversation. Is always got to make it a, seriously, cat? He always does this. I don't know what it is.
Oh, my dog Baloney, every time I get, like, that's why I had to put him in a different room. Because if he hears, like, somebody else on the thing and he can't see them, he, like, starts going all, like, berserko and
right?
stuff.
Like, he wants nothing to do with me most of the time, but the minute the camera's on, he's like, oh, hey.
Yeah. My dog does the same thing. Actually, I have a funny story about my first time ever trying to do anything car related. So when I was younger, I was real into, like, building Honda Civics. I thought I was going to be the next, like, awesome, like, drift racer or something. In my
Nice.
So I had this epic idea that I was going to buy a right-hand drive front flip from Japan. So
nice.
It came. I was like, I'm going to put this on in a 4-door Civic because, you know, everybody has a hatchback back then, or Del Sol or whatever these were. We're talking very early 2000s. So I was thought I was going to be so cool and cutting edge with this 4-door right-hand drive Civic. And I was going to put I think it was a B16 with an LS trans on it with a turbo. So these were great ideas for any 17-year-old girl to have.
Wait, why not?
So this front clip came. We had no way of getting this out of the trunk of the back of the truck, right? So we had to ratchet strap it, and then we like basically did a burnout out of my driveway and put old mattresses down and ripped this thing. And my mom was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, "It'll be done in like 3 weeks. It's only gonna take me 3 weeks to do this whole front end swap on this car."
No.
So I had no idea what I was doing. YouTube wasn't a thing then,
right?
So there was no like, oh, what is it like to, you know, drill out all the spot welds in a, you know, the what is it, like a firewall of the front end of the car? You know how many trips
many spot welds
to buy drill bits, drill all that out? And I was, you know, I was broke when I was, you know, 17 years old. I didn't have any money, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna borrow my friend's flux core welder to weld this thing back on. It was a disaster. I got it up and running. So got it up and running. I took my sister in it. We got over the Long Beach Island Bridge, and got into the subway parking lot as we were being pulled over by a cop. And he was like, "What is this contraption driving around in?" And I'm like, "Please don't arrest me." And there's in Japan, there's no serial numbers on their vehicles.
Right.
I have 2 different parts of motors that don't match this car in this thing.
Not suspicious at all.
This thing was not street legal probably at all. And I'm like, please don't arrest me. I'm literally crying. And like I didn't have like the ignition set up yet, so it was literally just like the little plastic ignition cap thing. And I had a stubby flathead screwdriver, and that's how I turned the car on. And my sister's like, "Oh my God, we're going to jail." Turns out the cop I worked with at the place where I used to build all the stuff for the yachts. And he's like, "Oh, I know you. Okay, you can go home. But just you need to go home. Like, do not drive this thing anymore."
That is amazing.
It was an epic fail on my end.
No, that's an epic success. I love it.
I think that was one of my last. That was bad. Yeah. I haven't told very many people that story, but I figured you would appreciate it.
You just told a whole lot of people.
Yeah, and it did not take 3 weeks. It took way longer than 3 weeks.
Oh, of course.
My mom was on it.
Always takes way longer. Even when you know what you're doing, it always takes way longer than you plan. But I think that's phenomenal. I love epic failure/successes like that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a horrible disaster.
And ballsy to take it on, right? Like that's not something that most folks do when they're young, right?
I don't know. Did you ever watch those old Japanese cartoons? It was that Initial D. That was like, it was all the drift racing, like Japanese cartoon.
No.
So rad. It was the raddest, stupid show ever. I was like, I'm going to be one of those people.
Nice. You know, it's not too late.
I never drifted a right-hand drive car, so if you know anybody.
I might, actually.
I need to get in on that. Yeah.
I might. You'll have to come out to Phoenix, though.
Yeah, so this is my new dream, is I'm going to build a right-hand drive Mini Cooper.
I love it.
And rip it. Because I'm only 4'11", so Mini Cooper is like perfect size for me. So
you're how tall?
4'11".
You're a little itty bitty.
I'm a troll. Yes.
You're not a troll. That I'm normally the shortest person in the room, so that actually is that's cool.
Yeah, my daughter is 11 and she's half an inch shorter than me now. So
nice. Awesome. That means you can like fit into tight spaces to do things like.
Yeah,
I always found it an asset being little.
That's always my life. Is all right.
There's so many times working on cars where I'm like, I don't know how large men do this job because I'm having to fold myself into little teeny tiny places.
Oh yeah,
I don't know how they do that.
Replace stanchion legs on a bow rail and the hull of the boat is like, we have 14 inches between that. I'm like, how is anybody else getting in between there?
Right.
Who was doing this job before I got here? I want to know.
Exactly. They just weren't doing it. They're like, that doesn't matter. It's fine. Oh my gosh. So what's new and on the horizon for you?
Oh, I got big things coming. I'm very excited. Hopefully everybody at home will be seeing a lot more of me on their TVs.
Super top secret mission.
Yeah, it's a little top secret, but hopefully
awesome.
in the next couple of months we'll be able to really let everybody in
nice.
and share what's going on in my life. So
well, everybody stay tuned because I know that there's big stuff coming. You're gonna be excited and want to pay attention to this. So so again, if you're new and you're just joining in, this is Stephanie Hoffman. She is a welder, fabricator, metal sculptor, teacher, instructor, phenomenal woman. If you don't follow her already, make sure that you follow her, check her out, and stay tuned for really big stuff coming. I'm so excited about it. What's on your wish list? Like what's a project that you would love to do and haven't done yet? Aside from the right-hand drive Mini Cooper.
Yeah, my little Mini Cooper. It's been a dream for freaking ever. It's gonna happen one day.
Yes.
So really, the biggest thing on my wish list right now is I really want to get myself a CNC table, a nice little plasma table for my shop. That's
I want one so bad.
I think that'll be a pretty big thing for me, rather than having to cut everything by hand or hassle my buddy at his fab shop to borrow his stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of the next big thing for me. I think that'll be able to take what I do at home now and kind of take that stuff to the next level. So that's kind of
nice. Where
my eyes are set right now.
Yeah. I saw Barbie the Welder got one and like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. I want one so bad.
I know. It stinks because you have to take so much time to cut anything when you have to do it all by hand. You got to lay out every damn line, straight edge it. Oh gosh, and then you have to clean it all after.
Right.
Fix all those not so smooth round marks you put in it.
For the longest time, we didn't even have a regular like chop saw at the shop. So like literally anything that we wanted to cut, we were doing with a cutoff wheel.
Yeah.
So
I've been there. Yeah.
Ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like not even a shear or.
I know. I have so much stuff that I want to put, but my shop at home, we have a 2-car garage, and one half is my husband's and his gym equipment. Oh, I think I built half of the gym equipment over there. and then the other side is my side, and I'm slowly encroaching. I said, I think we're gonna have to put an addition on this thing, but you know how properties of the Jersey Shore are. They're not very big, so.
Yep.
It's tight. We're just blessed to have a 2-car detached garage, so
yeah.
The fact that we have that is like an anomaly.
No, that's super huge.
Yeah. So, that's my next thing. I've already cleared out the space. It's just a matter of getting my life together and doing it. So.
Yeah. So are you mostly doing like freelance stuff then now? You're not working for anybody. You're doing your own thing.
So I work full time for the AWS. So that's
okay.
So I'm the program manager of workforce development.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a full-time deal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the trailer, generally I would help, all the logistics of that with our team. We have a great team at MRA out in Detroit who house the trailer and deal with all the tour management side of it. But I help with facilitating where we're going to go and planning all that stuff. And then when I'm not doing the trailer stuff, I do the monthly blog. I do a monthly blog for Welding Digest. I help with the grants and stuff. We do the big $25,000 school grants. So those applications are open if anybody's at
Where do people go? Where do they go for scholarships and grants?
AWS.org. welding.com/foundation, and you'll find all of our grants along with scholarships and all that stuff. So I mostly help out with the grant awarding stuff to the schools. But if anybody ever, needs stuff, just head over to that page, and there's all that
Cool.
good information over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I do a bunch of stuff, and then obviously a lot of different content and stuff I do for
Yeah,
now.
you're
So
doing
my job has, I was hired to do the trailer, and then the trailer happened, and then now it is not happening. So I'm very thankful that the AWS has found lots of other uses for me. So, but yes, that's my full-time
Yeah,
thing.
you're doing a ton.
Yeah, and then when I'm not
being
doing
a
that,
mom.
I do a lot of side work. So it's a lot.
So I've got a couple of questions just rolled in. One is from Molly from Driven Restoration. She's wanting to know if you find that your kid, I think she said kids, but you only have one child, right? Takes instruction from you, or like her kids can only learn from a third party.
Yeah, it was easier when she was smaller. The older she's been getting, the more I don't know anything, I guess, type of thing.
Okay.
That kind of happens. But it's funny. I think that's a problem across the board, because when I'm out on the trailer talking to students, they're asking me all types of questions, and their instructor will be right there and be like, I told you this. Like,
Totally.
How come it's suddenly light bulbs going off? We talked about this.
Totally.
But the same thing would happen with me when I would be talking to my students. It would be,
Yeah.
in one ear and one out the other. I'd have one of my, friends from the industry come in and do a demo, and it was like,
Right.
But yeah, I think she does take instruction from me in the shop pretty well still. She gets frustrated with me though, a little easy. So I always got to remember that, I'm still her mom, and she doesn't always like to, listen to everything that I have to say.
Right.
I got to take her frustration with a grain of salt sometimes, because I couldn't imagine my mom trying to teach me how to weld. So.
Right.
And I get impatient with her.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, welding and all that is so easy, and she should just know how to do it. Like, what do you mean you're too hot? Or what do you mean you can't see it that good?
Right.
Just do it. So I think it's probably frustration on both ends. Sometimes the instruction doesn't go as smoothly as I think it will go in my head.
Fair enough. Appreciate the honesty. So Welder Danae just asked, she's also an instructor. She's asking if you've ever had issues or dealt with students not respecting you, and how did you deal with it?
No, I don't think I ever had that problem, honestly.
What do you attribute it to? Do you feel like there's something that you did to kind of establish your, domain?
I think they just respected my skill set and knowledge a lot, so maybe they didn't question it all too often, because I wasn't the type of instructor that would just tell them to do something and not do it myself. Everything was demo led, and then that. But it seemed that I gained the respect of the older students when I first started there, my senior students first, it seemed like. Because the instructor that I replaced was really old, didn't really do too much with them, wasn't really engaged with them. So they saw what I was doing for them, and they really valued that. And I think it kind of was a trickle-down effect. So I think maybe my situation was very different than maybe what a lot of other instructors deal with. And then they kind of, I was like their crazy aunt, I think I turned into, for a lot of them. So they always were like you didn't mess with the welding crew, it was kind of like one of those types of vibes when I was instructing.
Nice.
We were very tight knit. Everybody, I don't know, it was just, I guess, I don't know how I did it. They would call me Mini Hulk at times when I would get mad. So,
That's
they
adorable.
know that they just didn't want to make me upset or disappoint me, because I also am a veteran, and I come from that, very military mind. It's, in the beginning, one person does it, you all do it, and we're all back to square one here. So that kind of helped too, maybe.
I had a mentor once tell me, and I was never good at this, but her words of advice, she was a teacher, not in the trades, but she was a teacher, and she said, always start out the semester as the bitch.
Yeah.
Because you can always become nice, but you can't start out nice and then become the bitch. So absolutely. I thought it was really interesting, and I don't necessarily know that I would use those words myself, but her point was when you start out strict, it establishes that respect, and then you can become nice and become friendlier, but it's hard to go the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you start out nice, it's hard to suddenly be like, you know.
That could be one thing that helped with the kids respecting me, was the quality that I expected from them was something that sometimes would be slightly unobtainable for them. So I think they were always pushing to do better, and they didn't want to disappoint. So like if something wasn't square or something wasn't, didn't look right, they knew if I came over and saw it, I'd either take it and cut it apart and make them do it again, or, I would just take it from them and be like, well, you didn't come up with a blueprint for this. You didn't tell me how much material, you didn't tell me this, you didn't do that. This is part of being responsible. And I think laying ground rules like that for them so that I wouldn't say they never feared me. They didn't, I think I don't have any students, I don't think that ever, not that I know, that were like hated me. But they always knew that I demanded a certain level of quality out of them. And I think that definitely helps.
I would agree. I think there's something to that. Like, I think sometimes the inclination, like I had some really harsh mentors when I was coming up in the industry, and I hated them at the time because I was like, why are you so mean? But now I kind of attribute, I'm as good of a technician as I am today because my mentor wouldn't help me, right? Or like forced me to figure it out. And in retrospect, he wasn't being mean about it. He was just like, figure it out.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. And I think it's that like holding people to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Like, I know you have it in you to figure it out, so I'm not going to hold your hand.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Absolutely. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for any instructors is set the bar high for all your students, and especially in the beginning, just they should look at you as if, you should be held to a different level than what they are, but they should aspire to come up to your level. So
I think it's particularly challenging for younger instructors, because they're not that far away from the age of their students. And I think that could be challenging. And Danae is saying she wished she could find a female mentor that is instructed. Well, hey girl, you can reach out to Miss Stephanie. So Welder Danae, you should reach out and connect. Yeah. That's what this is all about, like us finding each other and supporting each other and helping one another out. So yeah, they're out there. You just got to find them, and very cool. I dig it. So we have 8 minutes left before Instagram is going to cut us off and tell us we can't do this anymore. So, what else? We've covered everything. I feel like, my goodness, we've talked about a lot of things. Is there anything else you want to share with people? Where do they find you? How do they connect with you? What else should they know?
Yeah. So I can't help but encourage people to really get out there. If you're in the welding community or want to be in the welding community, get involved with your local AWS sections. There's sections in everybody's area all across the country, Canada included. So find out what section you're a part of, what district you're a part of, find out, from your district, then what section you're in. A lot of great opportunities out there, especially with networking and networking for your students. So if you're a welding instructor, it's so important to get your students out to AWS meetings. They're normally every month.
Yes.
And they are all over the country, like I said, and a lot of them will change from place to place. But get your kids active in the community, because those people that are sitting on those, section AWS boards and stuff like that, they are the people that are working at companies that a lot of times are doing the hiring or know who's doing the hiring. Oftentimes, I'm part of the Philadelphia section of the AWS. And oftentimes we change our locations every month of where we're holding our meetings. And we go to places that are looking to hire welders. So we always encourage students to come out and bring their resume.
That's
and
awesome.
Bring it, or just come out and check out the facilities and see what type of industry is in your area. So it's really important to get involved with your AWS sections. If you don't know what section you're a part of, you can go on aws.org and you can look it up by your zip code and all that good stuff, and reach out and connect to the folks that are in charge of your sections. Also, becoming a member of the AWS will open the doors for a lot more scholarship money. So a lot of the scholarships do require membership. So,
how much does it cost to become a member?
It's $88 for a regular membership, and I believe it's $15 for a student membership. So if you're a student,
that's awesome.
It's like $15. And so definitely go over there and find out all that pricing.
Yes, that's fantastic advice. Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's really important. And the networking, I can't say enough about the networking. The networking is the reason why I have the job that I have today. And that was because I went to AWS meetings and I would go there and talk to people. I was supposed to become my district director of the area that I live in. And I ended up getting offered this job because I went to the Instructors Institute 1 year as an instructor. So if you're an instructor out there, become an AWS member, go to a couple meetings, and then apply to go to the Instructors Institute from the AWS. It's a week paid for down in Miami at our headquarters. And they take care of everything, and you meet instructors from all across the country. So I have friends now in every state that I go to because I've met them through the AWS. Then the following year after that, I went for the leadership symposium because I thought I was going to become the district director. And then next thing you know, like the board members within the sections and districts, they're volunteer positions, right? So then out of nowhere, I got an email from the folks at the AWS asking me to come and tour the country because I was going to meetings and voicing, AWS needs to get with the time. We need to become more relevant to the actual workforce and the welders out there and the fabricators.
And they're like, sweet, help us.
Yeah. And they listen,
That's awesome.
So here I am. And
that's fantastic.
It can happen to anybody. I never thought I would be, a welder with going on tour with a multi-million-dollar Lincoln Electric trailer thing, and
I think that's so huge.
Country. And, all that happened because of my, taking the time to go to a once-a-month meeting.
Yes. Networking and don't burn bridges because it's a small world. So, like, go meet people. It really, it is what you know, but it also is who you know. And
absolutely. And I have plenty of students who can contest, too, that have come out to meetings and then up getting jobs at those meetings. So.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many more opportunities out there than people realize. Like, networking has been absolutely the source of all of my success in my life. So, yeah, I 100% second that. Yeah.
So if you live in the Philadelphia area, come hang out with me at a meeting.
Yay! All right. Well, we're about to get booted, so I'm gonna thank you. I'm gonna DM you. You gotta send me your address. I'm gonna send you a thank you happy hour glass for joining me. And once you're able to go public with your big news, maybe we'll have to have you back on so we can talk about that. And it was so awesome getting to hear your story and get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Make sure you tune in again next week for our next fantastic guest. All right. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.